Up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at how to build and program 1 and 2 pneumatic cylinders. In order to do this, you're going to need a VEX IQ Pneumatics kit, a VEX IQ brain. I'm going to be using Gen 2 for this series, a VEX IQ battery, and make sure that it's charged. So as you can see, mine is charged. A VEX IQ controller that is compatible with your brain, one cable, and a pair of scissors for cutting your tubing. Make sure you cut your tubing to its required length, as I'm going to be using pre-cut pieces of tubing. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is get an air tank and air pump from our pneumatics kit. So this right here is an air tank, and this right here is an air pump. Other materials that we're going to need include a solenoid from the VEX IQ Pneumatics kit, tubing pieces, fittings, which I'll be calling connectors, and then 2 pneumatic cylinders. I'm using the large ones because these are much easier for y'all to see. So the first thing I'm going to do is get these two materials, the air pump and the air tank, and I'm going to put some tubing on the nozzle of the air tank. So this right here is the air tank. This is the nozzle. Boom, tubing on the nozzle. Now I'm going to put some tubing onto the nozzle of the air pump. So this is the nozzle of the air pump. Some tubing. And the reason why I'm putting tubing on here is because my goal is to actually connect these two. So this way my air pump can actually store air inside of the air tank. So that's the goal of putting tubing on these. So the next step now is to get a fitting from here. I'm going to specifically get a fitting. It's called a T fitting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the tubing onto the T portion, or this portion. Not the line portion, but the T portion of the T fitting. So I'm going to put one side is going to have the air tank and its tubing, the T portion. Okay, make sure your fitting is on properly. Make sure the tubing is on the fitting properly. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the air pump. So air pump, its tubing, fitting, and remember this is all going onto the T portion. It is not going onto the line portion. So just gonna, now boom, now that they're secured, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some tubing up here. So let me get the piece of tubing out here really quickly. So I'm gonna get some tubing, put it on here. So as you can see, I added another piece of tubing. And now the next thing is to, so I'm gonna take out another T fitting, another T fitting, and I'm actually gonna use the line portion this time. So this part right here that we just added to this T fitting, I'm going to attach the line portion of the T-fitting to it. So hopefully y'all can see this. But yeah, just a closer look what I've done so far. All right, now my next step is going to be putting some tubing onto the line portions of the T-fitting that I just added. All right, so here's my fitting. I'm going to put one piece of tubing right here. All right, now I'm putting another piece of tubing on the other side. Lovely, 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 lovely. So now I have a solenoid. Hope y'all can see it really well, but there are actually letters on this solenoid. They're really, really faint. There's a letter A up here. This is a letter P's right here. And there's a letter B right there in these portions. Basically, the reason why that's important is because this tubing needs to go into the P slot. It should not go into the A or B slot. It needs to go into the P slot. So here's my solenoid. Here's my tubing. I'm going to put one, see right here. Just gonna put it on top, just shove it on there. Boom, just like that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other piece. All right, nice. So this is what I've done. I put it in the middle. So I'm actually gonna put this aside for a second. I'm gonna get my two cylinders. This is one of my cylinders, and I'm gonna put some tubing on the A portion and the B portion of them. You can see A is called A because it has, well, the letter A right here, and B is called B because it has the letter B right here. Same thing with the other cylinder. So let me get some tubing. So here's some tubing. All right, yep, just putting it on the A and B portion of one of the cylinders, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the other cylinder. All right. Now we have two cylinders with tubing on them. Now if we look back at the solenoid, remember how I said there's a portion that has A and then there's a portion that has B? What we're gonna do is we're gonna put the A portion of the cylinder onto the A portion of the solenoid and the B portion of the cylinder onto the B portion of the solenoid. Remember, we do not want to crisscross them, so this way it's A and B, A and B. That's not good. It needs to be A, B, A, B. Make sense? Once again, A, B, A, B, not A, B, A, B. Okay? Good. So I'm going to do that really quickly. So this is the A portion, and this is the B portion. The A is going into the A slot. And the B is going into the B is going into the B slot. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with the other cylinder that we have here. A portion to the A slot. B portion to the B slot. All right. Now what you're looking at here is a completed pathway to making 2 pneumatic cylinders. So now what we need to do in order to make it actually prepped to be connected to our brain is first, we're going to connect this 3-wire to this tiny little slot on the solenoid. So you see this tiny little slot right here? We're going to connect this 3-wire plug that's on our air pump into there. So yeah, it should just slide in really well. And now there's this bigger hole, and that's where our cable goes in. So here, right here is one of my cables. So this is my cable. I'm just going to, boom. Now I'm going to get my brain. And I'm just going to put the solenoid into port number 1. So right there, port number 1. And boom, all of your physical components should now be connected. I'm not going to be getting into the programming portion. Okay, so for the programming portion, I'm going to be creating a new blocks project called part 1. You can name your blocks project whatever you want. From here, I'm going to be going into the devices tab. And now I'm going to click on add a device. And I'm going to go down all the way to the bottom here where it says pneumatic. I'm going to click on pneumatic. Since my solenoid is in port 1, I'm going to click on port 1. And now I'm going to click done. And now I'm going to click add a device. And I'm going to click controller. And now I'm going to click done. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the motion class. So this right here is the motion class. And I'm going to drag the set pneumatic 1 pump to on underneath the 1 started block. You need to do this step because if you don't, then the solenoid won't be on, making it so that you can't actually direct and redirect air inside of the solenoid. After you do this, you will go into the controller class. So I'm going to click on controller, and this right here is the controller class. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag 4 of these when controller E up button pressed statements. I'm just going to drag 4 of them. Now I'm going to go back to the motion class. And as you can see, there's a block that's called set pneumatic 1 cylinder 1 to extend. So I'm going to drag that into each of these when controller button blocks. So now what's happening here is that whenever you click the E up button, the pneumatic 1 cylinder 1 will extend, but we have that repeated 4 times. We want it so this way I can extend and also retract my cylinders, and I need to do it to both of them, not just one of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 1 pair of buttons. So the E buttons are going to be used for cylinder 1, and the F buttons are going to be used for cylinder 2. So if I click on the drop down arrow here, there's a button called F up. So I'm going to use that. And here there's a button called F down. So I'm going to click on that. This is already set to E up. So I'm going to click on this other one and I'm going to change it to E down. So now whenever the E up button is pressed, it'll perform this action. Whenever the E down button is pressed, it'll perform this action. Whenever the F up button is pressed, it'll perform this action. And whenever the F down button is pressed, it'll perform this action. But the problem though is that the blocks are only set to do an action for cylinder 1. And even then, they're only set to extend. So we're going to go into the drop downs and then pick cylinder 1 or cylinder 2. Since I'm using E, the E buttons, I only want it to be cylinder 1, and the F buttons, I only want it to be cylinder 2. So I'm going to change that first. Cylinder 1 to cylinder 2, cylinder 1 to cylinder 2, So pneumatic 1 cylinder 1 to extend, pneumatic 1 cylinder 1 to extend, cylinder 2 down here. But I need it so this way they can retract also. That means that they can not only get pumped, but they can also push themselves back in. So I'm going to click on the drop down menu on extend. I'm going to click retract, extend to retract. Now, whenever you click E up, the cylinder 1 will extend. Whenever you click E down, cylinder 1 will retract. Whenever you click F up, cylinder 2 will extend. And whenever you click F down, cylinder 2 will retract. So that's all you need to do to code a pneumatic system. And now I'm just going to download that into the brain really quickly. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on brain, connect via Bluetooth, VEX IQ, connect. And once this turns green, you can click download. No, I don't want to save the project. But if you want to save this project, you can always save it. And in the meantime, while my code is loading or downloading onto the brain, I just want to let you know that we are going to be posting tutorials to teach you how to use 4 and 8 cylinders. So if you're interested in that, just please like, subscribe, and comment. All right, now with our project downloaded, it's time for us to actually test and see if the code works. All right, now that you've finished coding it, you're going to go onto your VEX IQ brain, go into programs, and I labeled mine as part 1 code. So we're going to open that up, and then we're going to click run. You should be hearing like a really noisy sound, and that's just the air pump working. So in other words, if you're not hearing that sound, you might want to check your wiring really quickly. And if you are, you're doing a great job. And make sure that your controller is actually connected because you won't be able to control the cylinders. As you can see, looks like one of mine has already shot up. So if I click a button, one goes up, click one goes down. Sorry, I'll do that again. Click it, one goes up, click it, one goes down, goes up, goes down. So that's just a really basic tutorial of how to code and just build basic pneumatics. I'm going to turn this off because it's pretty loud. Thank you all for watching. We are going to be posting a 4 pneumatic video soon and also an 8 pneumatic video soon. So you should be able to use all of the cylinders inside of your VEX IQ kit, VEX IQ pneumatics kit. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.